Hello, and thank you for joining us, being in the room or online, as I know we have a pretty large audience over there. So we have roughly 30 minutes where we're going to talk about innovation, and most important, we are going to talk about how we can improve the experience between our IT team and the OT team. So first, let's start with some context. What's happening and what's happening in the industry? And we are now in 2023, and it's very clear for industry all around the world that digitization is a necessity. It's not a question anymore. Our customer, you, our audience, you are trying to improve your production, improve the quality, improve the yield, increase the agility of your operation. And to do that, you know that you can leverage technology, and technology is critical for you to improve your business. And so that's what we have seen across industry. And there's something new as well that happened in 2023. For the last few months, you've heard everywhere about AI. I've been lucky to be on the road and meeting CIO for the last few months all around the globe. And whenever I talk to them, I will ask them, what is the top challenge that you have right now? What's your top priority? And most of them, it's about how do they put in place an AI strategy for their company. And that is very interesting because it drives a lot of things on what needs to be done into their industrial infrastructure and how Cisco can help them. So when I talk to customers, it's very clear that they want to use technology, they want to connect assets, they want to be able to get data so they can put in place an AI strategy, but it's very complex. Their environment goes beyond the office space, go into the manufacturing floor, go into the wild for utility, goes into the outdoor if you're mining. So there is some complexity to connect those assets. Complexity, but also cyber security risk, because as you connect more and more things, your attack surface is seriously increasing and you have to protect it. But the last, and not the least, is the limited resources. You have to connect all those assets, you have to secure all those assets, and you need to have people to be able to do all of that. So that's the challenge that I've seen all around the world for all those industries that are trying to leverage technology to improve their business. So what I see top of mind is security. I want to use technology, but I want to be secure. How can I do that? And for us at Cisco, the thing that we have been listening as well is we want more visibility. I want to secure, I want to connect, I want to secure, I want to have visibility on what's happening in my infrastructure. And you know Cisco as an IT company. We have been in business for 39 years, almost 40 years next year. And you know, we are an IT company. And we have been in industrial network for quite some time. And I was lucky to meet with one of the partners. And he gave me this amazing quote. He said, like, well, OT know why we need to digitize the process. Why do we need to use technology to improve things? But IT know how. And that's really key, is we are in a situation where IT and OT need to work together. So some of them may say it's a convergence, some of us will say maybe it's a partnership, but that's something as an industry that we need to solve and we need to help. And we feel at Cisco that we have a role to play into helping our customer to make their IT team work with their OT team. And like I mentioned, you know, we have been in industrial network for more than 20 years, actually. Some of you in the room or even online, I'm sure you remember this product. This has been 20 years ago. And over those last 20 years, we've learned a lot. We worked with you, and we've learned that it's not so easy to connect those industrial assets. And we've learned that what you care about, it's about the application and automation. At the end, you connect assets to be able to run an application, to be able to run things. You want to have visibility and security, and we want to have the flexibility to scale all of that. So at Cisco, we are very lucky. I'm sure this entire week online or in person, you have learned about the Cisco portfolio. And we are the only IT company that have been investing so much into industrial network to really complete our IT portfolio in the industrial networking side. And that's something we are very proud of. And what we are trying to do here is really make sure we provide a unified experience for our customer from the IT side, the campus network, all the way to the industrial network. So now you will tell me, well, we are into an innovation session. So what is it about? What is about innovation? Let me get there. And when we talk about innovation, I found this amazing quote from Tom Freston, is the founder of MTV. And for some of you that might be with a lot of experience, you may remember that they used to have music, there used to be TV, and MTV took the TV and the music, putting them together to do those video clips that are now you see every day. That was innovation, taking two things and making them better together. So that's what we're going to try to do today. And instead of me telling you about that, I thought it would be amazing to have one of our customers to talk about what they do in their company. So please help me to welcome on stage Joseph Ozdemir. He is the manager of infrastructure delivery and mineral resources. Hi, Joseph.
Hello.
Welcome on stage. Yes. I'll leave you alone.
Sure.
Please tell us what you do. I know you have an amazing story, and I'll come back right after for a few questions for you.
No worries.
Okay,
appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So some of you in the room may know or may have heard of Mineral Resources, but I know many of you online probably won't have. So Mineral Resources, the business has been around about 30 years. In that time, quite proudly, we've consistently seen 30% growth year on year through our business. Unfortunately, 30% becomes bigger and bigger and bigger every year. But what that's built us into is we're the world's largest crushing services contractor to other mining companies. That's the core of the business, our mining services. We are a very, very vertically integrated business where we have our 5 main pillars that all service each other, whether it's engineering and construction or mining services or catering. We run our own in-house GP. We do pretty much everything in-house that we can. But over that 30 years, that's built us into being a top 5 Australian iron ore producer. And more importantly today, and quite relevant to sustainability and decarbonisation, we produce over 29% of the world's hard rock lithium out of our 3 mines in Western Australia. We're also looking to expand and augment the business as part of our decarbonisation, where we are going to produce our own gas potentially and then supply all our own mines and look at some other opportunities downstream. So what that brings us into is some of the more innovative things that we're doing at Mineral Resources. The core of the business, as I said, is our crushing services, where we've got our new next-gen crushers. What that means is we can stand up crushers in a very short space of time, whether for us or whether for our customers. We've got our jumbo road trains. So we have a little bit of rail, but predominantly we truck nearly all of our product out using big quad road trains, 300 tonnes. And for our new Onslow Iron project, we're looking to automate those. And that one I find particularly interesting. Automation is not new to the mining industry, but predominantly it's been all around haul trucks, and I sort of see those as more automated products. They are able to follow instructions to go from A to B, and whilst these are obviously not too dissimilar, they're on a private road going from A to B, we've built a product that's able to run for a period of time without constant communications, which I think in this space especially is really innovative. And the last innovation that we've got on this slide is our transhippers. As part of our pit to port Onslow project, we've got our 20,000 tonne transhippers, and you can, I don't know if you spotted in the video right there, we've got some fairly fancy accommodation on board these as well, which leads me into the next slide. Whilst not 100% relevant to what we've got here, I want to talk about MinRes and what we're doing. And when we talk about skill shortage and attracting workforces, we're, as it says here, redefining the workplace experience, and we're not building mining camps anymore. We're building what we call resorts. So world-class accommodation for the people that are living and working on our sites, to make sure that all of these people working towards a sustainable future by producing lithium and getting that out there in the market have the best facilities and the best place to live and work while they're on our sites. IT-OT convergence. So it's an interesting topic because we've been talking about it for quite some time, but it's really come up more relevant in the last 5+ years. And personally, I find it really interesting because you go to a Digital Minds conference or you go and talk to vendor A, B, and C, not Cisco, and they'll say, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing AI, you need, Industry 4.0, that's what you have to be doing. But I struggle to find too many resources, businesses that have actually gone, yeah, we've got digital twins and we're getting this value and we're doing this. And what I see is that there's a big gap in getting those foundational steps actually in place and up and running before, you've got to be able to walk before you can run. To be able to go and enable data to get to here, to build those machine learning models and make all of those things happen, you need to have your foundational cybersecurity principles and your patterns and your architectural models to be able to make and enable those things to happen before any of that happens. Because otherwise you get business customers that come to you and say, I want to reduce belt wear or detect belt cuts, but I've got a system that needs to talk to the cloud, and then you end up just having this whole back and forth about you can't do this, you can't do this, you've got to be prepared. That's where it has to absolutely start. Getting those fundamental patterns and knowing exactly why and how things need to be able to happen. And I think especially in mining businesses, and it doesn't really matter if you're in any business that runs OT, IT needs to spend more time with the business. They need to go out to site, they need to spend time in the factories, go and actually be down in the weeds and see what's going on and understand the context. Exactly as Samuel said, OT understands the why, IT knows the how. It has to be bridged that way by spending time together and understanding both worlds. But I don't think it's one size fits all. It's different in every business. As I mentioned sort of at the start, there's 5 main pillars to MinRes, and that makes it really difficult. We have 5 CEOs. I've got very, very different business requirements across them all. And having those conversations really early with your business stakeholders who are actually accountable, because that's to me what OT means. OT means accountability. Who owns that accountability and understanding where they actually want you to play. Some of the models that we've entertained at MinRes specifically is where there's an OT shared services component where each of the businesses have accountability for their OT functions, which is not just process control. We've got our logistical, the road trains that we run. We've got the fleet management systems. We've got our marine systems. In an ideal situation, those business owners would still hold that accountability, and then a technology business sits around it to avoid that duplication of skilled network and server and cyber resources. But it's really about what fits your business. But I think having those discussions early on are really, really critical. And I think by having those foundations, you can get to a point where what IT and OT are doing when you look towards AI and ML and those sorts of components, we've been able to enable the business to take advantage of their data without, the only part that we're doing is the plumbing in the middle. And I think that's a really, to me, that's where we should be aiming to get to try and enable all of those things to happen at scale. And the last bit is, how do you plan for the future? In businesses that change very quickly, at MinRes we got a very short window of opportunity where we were told, we're acquiring a new asset, you need to take it over in a week. How do you deal with that? Where do you compromise? How do you decide on where you're going to draw the line in the sand in terms of, I'm okay with this risk or this risk or this risk, but ultimately those are business risks. They're not technology risks to own. This slide is something I'm quite passionate about in OT specifically. There's a lot of talk and in mining in Western Australia, there's a lot of private mobile networks that are getting built. And for me, the constraint is actually the spectrum, not the technology. For example, if 2.4 gigahertz had another 50 channels and you could crank up the power on it, I don't think anyone would be building private mobile networks. But I think there is so much focus on the technology itself and whether should I build a Wi-Fi network or should I build a LoRaWAN network or a Wi-Fi network or whatever it may be. I think being able to look at all of the functions that you've got, the available spectrum that you've got, the investment that the business wants to make, and actually overlaying that and having flexibility in what spectrum you want to run. You know, Wi-Fi in itself is not the constraint, it's physics, RF. You can't change physics. There's very little you can do about it. I think the other piece that's quite often overlooked in mining is the radios on the vehicle themselves. You know, you can go and build, and it may be quite cost effective to go and build a private mobile network versus a Wi-Fi network, but if the UEs are 5 times the price and you've got 500, 1,000 assets that all need UEs, they need to last for about 5 to 7 years. So for me, it comes down to almost spectrum and then UE, and that then drives what technology selection actually makes sense for that investment. You know, not every mining company, especially when you get down into the tier 2s and 3s, have a 30-year asset. It might be a 5-year mine or a 10-year mine where you're just not going to get your return on investment. But quite often the UEs tend to be after the fact. It's, you know, we've decided we're building 5G, so let's find a 5G UE rather than looking the other way around. And looking at the UEs as well, I think there is untapped value in future in having edge compute on the UEs. Being able to do some inference on the edge and being able to get, you know, pipes are only so big. You can't bring every set of data off every vehicle. You know, take a autonomous truck with a LiDAR on it. You can't pull all of those LiDAR points off. But if you could have a model that took that data, extracted what information you wanted, and only sent that off board, then suddenly you've got a mapping of your whole pit. I think really looking at what goes on the vehicles is a really key part of everything that needs to be built. So this is a couple of views of a few things that we've done at MinRes. You know, they're not particularly sexy or fancy, but you know, we like to call it bringing the instrument to the boardroom. So this is a project where we collected process control data, sent it up to the cloud and visualized it in Grafana so that we could start to give leaders and executives information on the live running of their plants. And we've got quite a few. We've got the operating mines that we run, but then we've got another 20, 30 crushing operations that all produce data and everyone wants to understand the health of. And similarly, our current fleet, some information here of where we've been able to, again, extract data and then help visualize that for our internal customers. So how all that happens, it doesn't happen alone. We can't do it ourselves. So we've got fantastic technology partners like Cisco. So within MinRes, all of our process plants that run, whether it's lithium or iron ore or whichever we're running, all have for some time run the industrial switching platform, which surprised me. You know, MinRes has made some interesting technology decisions over the years, but that one is one where they've seen the value from day one in having a reliable platform and something that's consistent and able to basically not give them any grief, which is fantastic. And that obviously is the industrial IoT team build more capability in that platform. It just enables us to take advantage of all of that. We don't have to go, oh, we've got to rip this out and replace this to get. It's great. It is fantastic, and it's an exceptionally reliable platform for us. We're also deploying Cisco ultra reliable wireless broadband. I'm sure it could have been a shorter name, but it's okay. We'll run with that. It's exactly what it is. It says what it is, which is great. So for our transshippers that I showed earlier in the piece, we had a requirement to be able to have critical process control comms between the transshipper and the land-based process control system. The team wanted to be able to press an e-stop on the transshipper. So this was a system that we could trust and we knew we could deploy, that would be able to give us confidence in wirelessly communicating to PLCs, which is fantastic. And then lastly, for our automated road trains, the initial deployment we're doing, there is going to be a 4G, 5G network that goes along the 170 kilometre road that we're doing. All the backhaul for that is the new IE 9320s. So it's been fantastic in the 10 plus years I've been dealing with especially the Cisco industrial wireless portfolio, seeing the evolution of that and how we're starting to get, we are getting products that we need and are critical and important for all of the solutions that we're looking at. And then lastly, I think in the OT space, it's really important to understand the value of partners in this space. The Curb solution, for example, we knew of it, but we would have been unlikely to trust and deploy it and do it all off our own back, somewhat because of the compressed timeframes that we have. But being able to partner with Cisco and with a partner in Perth specifically, who deployed the technology from the fluid mesh days and understood the technology and were able to go, yes, this works for your use case, this is how we design it, this is how it needs to work, that absolutely sped up our deployment and how quickly we can get it to market, but also the trust in the deployment and knowing that it was going to deliver exactly what we needed. So I think having partners that specifically understand OT and bringing some of your IT people together and trying to get that context is really, really critical. If there's one takeaway from everything that I've rambled on about here, if you're in IT, go and spend time out in your business and go and sit on a truck, go and walk through a process plant, go and spend time on a boat, whatever it is, that is how we'll ultimately enable IT-OT convergence.
Thank you so much, Joseph. It was very interesting.
All right.
So, I have to tell you, you said something that I will have a hard time to get out of my mind. You said you're not building workplace, you're building resort.
We are.
I can tell you on Monday, I'm going to tell my team we are going to resort. We are not going to office anymore. Yeah, we'll come. But thank you so much. It was very interesting. I have one question for you, though. So you have been using the Cisco portfolio and going after some very interesting use cases and putting the networking platform, the security that we offer to solve your use. What's next for you? And if you were going to ask us for something, what do you think is the next challenge or next thing that you're going to go after, and how can we help you?
So from a technology perspective, you've got the bits. You've got the switches, the routers, the industrial wireless portfolio. You have the bits. I think the path that you're on to bring together the tooling is really critical and really important. That's really going to help us bridge the IT-OT piece. I think once everyone can be on consistent platforms and be able to visibly run things and see things, it'll start to build confidence in those platforms and IT running more of those platforms or vice versa. But ultimately, the technology is one part of it. The people and the process are really what's going to enable this. So I think if Cisco continue to do the good work that you're doing, producing the products that we need, but just be conscious that as customers, we may be a bit behind on the people and process piece and bringing our businesses along for the journey.
Well, thank you so much, Joseph. We will continue on the education and training and having you and other customers come and educating the rest of the audience. I think is fantastic. So thank you so much. I would say one last thing. Last year, we've done a summit roadshow, mining summit, and you were greeting me with questions. And I thought I would, pay back and get you on stage. And I have to tell you, you've done a fantastic job. Right. So thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you so much for your trust. So obviously we are in innovation, and we are at Cisco Live, and you want to know, Joseph said how he used the Cisco product for innovation and mineral resources, but what are we doing at Cisco and in digital network? So for us, when we think about innovation, when my team think about innovation, we look at it from 3 different angles. There is obviously the hardware. We are a networking company. You come to us, you expect to get some networking equipment to connect those assets in some very remote and harsh environment. So we are innovating on that front. We are also innovating on the software side, because when we talk about security, cybersecurity, obviously there's a lot of things that can be done in software. So it's a big element of our innovation. And last part that is super important for us is we want to de-risk your investment in technology, and we want to make it easy for you to deploy the technology to solve use cases. And for that, we are building what we call Cisco Validated Design, where we take our product, with third party, with partner and other product to test the solution and make sure we can deliver on the use case that you are looking for. So let's have a quick recap on what we have done in 2023. First, we launched the Catalyst IE9300, rack-mount product, leveraging the same chipset, same operating system as what you find on the regular Catalyst 9K. So that's a fantastic product, ruggedized with a lot of different configurations, stackable, PoE, fiber, you name it, all of that is available for you. So that was one of the product lines that we launched this year. Second product line that we launched is the IE3100. So it's a small, compact, form factor, DIN rail mount, layer 2 switch. Running iOS 60 as well, feature packed. And once again, that's another product line that was launched this year in 2023. So I was very busy. But that was all wired. We have also been busy on the wireless side. And on the wireless side, we launched actually a brand new portfolio of industrial wireless. We launched the IW9167E and D and I. We've launched the 9165D and E. So pretty much what it is for the technologies that Joseph mentioned, Cisco ultra reliable wireless backhaul to be able to do point-to-point, point-to-multi-point connectivity, as well as connectivity for assets on the move, like the hauling truck in a mining environment, or like an HGVs in the manufacturing settings. So that's what we have been doing in terms of the hardware. So 2 new switching product family and 2 new wireless, industrial wireless product family. So quite busy, and I want to thank all the engineering team for that. The next thing that we have done is around software. So in software, I've been talking to a lot of our customers this week at Cisco Live, and it's all about remote access. You have an infrastructure and you want your partner, machine vendor to be able to access the asset that is into your network. And that is challenging. I was talking to one customer this week. In one of the factory, they have 80 different cellular gateways for vendors to connect to the machine. This is unmanageable for them. So for that, we have created a solution that is called Cisco Secure Equipment Access that we've launched this year. And that is really enabling to do zero trust network access. And the way it works is very simple. You have a tiny piece of software running directly into your industrial network on your switches and router, and you have a cloud management platform. From the cloud, you establish session on where your vendor or third party can connect to. So if you have a vendor, you go to the cloud, that is the laptop, and you can click directly on the asset that you want to connect, and you can establish a session, which means you can establish VNC session, RDP session, telnet session, console session, even native application session. I can, for example, from the cloud, use my software to connect to a PLC that would be in my industrial network. The value for you or customer is that you have one cloud dashboard where you can define who has access to which machine. You can have log, you can schedule access, you can record sessions so you know what they are doing on your infrastructure, and you can monitor all of that. So that's one of the new software innovations that we've launched for our industrial customer to really help them to provide access to machine vendor inside their industrial network and allow IT to monitor and see who is doing what on their infrastructure. So super critical. Last but not the least, it's around the CVD. We are here in Melbourne, in Australia this year. I cannot be in Australia without talking about mining. So we've launched 2 new CVD for mining, open pit, and above ground and underground mining. We have launched validated design for remote access, for segmentation, for visibility into the different environment setting. We've also done some for offshore wind turbines. So a lot of investment going in that direction. So with that, I hope that session was interesting for you. It's all about how Cisco is investing to bring IT technology to work with our OT personnel and OT user in industrial network. We are committed to this space. We are investing a lot, and we hope for you continue to enjoy your portfolio. With that, I invite you to go online and check our portfolio or go in the World of Solutions to see it. Thank you, and let's go.